Chapter 713, Confucian Patriarch Holy Book. This chapter is updated by novels.pl. Bang! Bang! Powerful knife energy knocked the two golden snake divine rapiers and sent them flying into the air. The sacred falchion then descended toward Zhang Yuochen's crown. Seeing what was happening, Saint Lady's countenance changed instantly. She held on tightly to her folding fan, ready to rescue Zhang Yuochen. She thought it was alright for Zhang Yuochen to be defeated. He had, after all, managed to cross swords with a half-saint, and that in itself was already a considerable feat. However, Zhang Yuochen did not seem ready to admit defeat. He activated the speed and defense mechanism of the shooting star invisible cloak and then leapt forward in a flash. The sacred falchion fell right where Zhang Yuochen had been standing. Roar! The ground split open to form a 10-meter wide gully. Powerful knife energy extended toward the corpse river and interrupted its flow for a split second. However, the deceased god's cemetery possessed a mysterious power that quickly closed all the breaches and cracks on the ground. While Zhang Yuochen managed to dodge the sacred falchion, he was unable to completely steer clear of the knife energy. The knife energy hit his chest. Although his shooting star invisible cloak had absorbed most of the energy, he was still seriously injured. A bloodstain appeared under the shooting star invisible cloak, extending in a line from his neck all the way down to his belly button. It was only because the dragon pearl in his body had protected him that he was able to block parts of the knife energy. Without using the power of time and space, it is really challenging to combat a half-saint at my level of cultivation. Zhang Yuochen mumbled. This battle was a humbling experience for both Qi Yun and Zhang Yuochen. Zhang Yuochen was unable to utilize many of his trump cards because Saint Lady and Qi Qian were watching. Otherwise, he was 70% sure that he could defeat Qi Yun using those trump cards. Qi Yun drew back his sacred falchion. When he saw Zhang Yuochen crawling out from the breach in the knife energy, his heart sank. He is not dead yet. Saint Lady breathed a sigh of relief and said, Lin Yue, there is no need for you to put up such a desperate fight with a half-saint. It would be better to use your trump cards and cut the battle short. She was trying to remind Zhang Yuochen to use the spiritual power of the chess piece. Zhang Yuochen would certainly not put his life on the line for the sake of Saint Lady's gamble. He put away both of his golden snake divine rapiers and said, my confrontation with predecessor Qi Yun was just to test my own capabilities. It has been proven that I am still not capable of fighting with a half-saint with my current level of cultivation. The power manifested by Qi Yun when he used holy weapons was far beyond Zhang Yuochen's capabilities. Only if Zhang Yuochen were to use the power of space could he be on par with Qi Yun. One should never underestimate the fighting strength of a half-saint. Qi Yun felt humiliated by the words spoken by this fish dragon realm monk. He replied coldly, what trump card do you have, Junior? Use it already. Very well. Zhang Yuochen nodded his head. Zhang Yuochen had a better understanding of his capabilities, and there was no need for him to risk his life battling Qi Yun. Zhang Yuochen took out the black chess piece and placed it in the center of his palm. Sparks of light emerged from the chess piece and diffused outward. Soon, they covered a 10-mile circular area. This is a very powerful fluctuation of spiritual power. Don't tell me he is able to cast some sort of spell? Qi Yun had an idea of Lin Yue's capabilities based on their confrontation. He now knew to be vigilant and not underestimate his opponent. Creation of heaven and earth. Qi Yun was ready to attack. Holding the hilt of his sword with both his hands, he leapt into the air. 5 burning holy qi gushed out from his hands, feet, and back. They started rotating around him, forming an enormous flaming vortex. The 5 holy qi swirled upward to gather around the sacred falchion. Wow! The sacred falchion shone with a bright light as if it were a blood-red crescent moon hanging in the sky. It was about to strike down on Zhang Yuochen. Wrath of the Thunder God. Zhang Yuochen mobilized the spiritual power in the chess piece and injected it into the thunder pearl continuously. He then lifted his arms above his head. Hundreds of thunderbolts gushed out from the thunder pearl and condensed into a terrifying statue of a thunderbolt giant. The thunderbolt giant held a thunder hammer that it then smashed onto the sacred falchion. Light rays instantly emitted from the thunderbolts and the flames to form a powerful energy storm that charged toward Zhang Yuochen and Qi Yan. Zhang Yuochen condensed a layer of lightning screen to block the energy storm coming toward them. PFFT. Qi Yan was penetrated by 3 thunderbolts and his body was burnt soot black. His 5 internal organs and 6 hollow organs were severely damaged and he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. With a swish, the sacred falchion fell from the air and landed on the ground next to him. You are even a master of spiritual power. Qi Yan glared with widened eyes. Shaking uncontrollably, he could hardly believe that he had been defeated by a fish dragon realm monk. The holy light from Qi Yan's body dimmed as he had exhausted much of his holy qi and was severely injured. Zhang Yuochen walked out from the black smoke. Still holding on to the chess piece and thunder pearl, he calmly said, "You've lost, predecessor Qi Yan." Saint Lady lifted her chin high to expose her snow-white neck as if she were a swan and looked at Qi Qian. She said, "Qi Qian, you lost." A cold, bitter look appeared in his eyes, and he coldly said, "The spiritual power of the chess piece does not belong to Lin Yue." It was not a fair battle. Saint Lady said, "Speaking of fairness, how is it fair for a half-cent to be fighting a monk of the 7th change in the fish dragon realm?" Lin Yue had, after all, used his own methods to defeat Qi Yan. "Don't tell me you, the prominent Saint Qian, are going to play foul?" "Ha ha." Qi Qian cackled and his eyes turned ferocious as he bellowed. "You must be dreaming if you think that I would admit defeat." Qi Qian snatched up Qi Yan with his large hand, transformed into a beam of divine light, and then flew out of the deceased god's cemetery. "I gave you a chance but you refused to take it." Saint Lady seemed to have expected that Qi Qian would repudiate their agreement. She shook her head gently and opened her palm. A jade book appeared on her palm instantly. She tossed the book into the air and it became suspended in the vault of heaven. The holy book emitted a blanket of holy light and all of the demon sly in the entire deceased god's cemetery was cleansed in an instant. As the book opened, countless characters started pouring out to form an ocean of characters. Some of the characters were just a foot away while others were floating above the 9 heavens. They were as numerous as the stars in the sky. It was impossible to count them. Confucian Patriarch Holy Book. Qi Qian looked up and the characters filled his vision. At the same time, it sounded like there were a million scholars reading and chanting poems in his ear. Immediately, his face showed fear, and he began mobilizing all the holy qi in his body as he attempted to escape to the horizon. Zhang Yuochen was stunned when he saw the holy book that was suspended in the vault of heaven. Every Confucian sect monk would author a holy book archiving his lifelong learnings once he reached the sacred realm. Every holy book possessed mighty saint power. The Confucian Patriarch Holy Book was the most powerful of all holy books. Since the ancient times, the entire Kunlun's field had only produced 4 Confucian Patriarch Holy Books authored by 4 patriarchs of the Confucian sect. Within them was vast and profound knowledge as well as inexhaustible sacred power. Who would have expected Saint Lady to be in possession of one of the 4 Confucian Patriarch Holy Books? No. Unable to defend, Qi Qian and Qi Yan shrunk to the size of flies and fell into the sea of characters. Eventually, they were drawn into the Confucian Patriarch Holy Book. The Confucian Patriarch Holy Book flew back and fell into Saint Lady's hands. Amazing. If you could eat that holy book whole, I am sure you will become the most knowledgeable person in the entire Kunlun's field. Blackie transmitted sound to Zhang Yuochen. Blackie licked its lips and its round cat eyes radiated a brilliant spark. It was ready to dash forward and snatch the Confucian Patriarch Holy Book. The Confucian Patriarch Holy Book is the Confucian sect's most precious treasure. Whoever swallows it would have all the Confucian sect monks hunting him. Moreover, the knowledge and holy aura contained in the Confucian Patriarch Holy Book is so vast that any saint who swallows it would die of a burst stomach, said Zhang Yuochen. Saint Lady possessed exceedingly strong spiritual power. She faintly heard the conversation between Zhang Yuochen and Blackie through sound transmissions, and she more or less got the gist of it. She turned to give them a look. Zhang Yuochen was taken aback. Could she have heard his conversation with Blackie? Saint Lady's eyes came to rest on Blackie as she said, "The person who harbors covetous thoughts about the Confucian Patriarch Holy Book will be banished to the battlefield of primitive world and never allowed to return to Kunlun's field." Seeing that Saint Lady had recovered her cultivation, Blackie did not dare to offend her. It quickly acted innocent and kept shaking its head. Saint Lady smiled. She could not be bothered with Blackie. All of a sudden, her eyes shifted to the netherworld on the other side of the corpse river. Her pretty face was drained of color as she exclaimed, "Oh no! The aura of the Confucian Patriarch Holy Book has aroused a powerful creature in the netherworld." How terrifying could the creature be if even Saint Lady was fearful of it? Zhang Yuochen looked toward the corpse river and true enough, he saw a dark cloud in the sky rolling toward them. Saint Lady took Zhang Yuochen and Blackie and escaped from the deceased god's cemetery as fast as she could. They were able to escape from the deceased god's cemetery before the dark clouds caught up with them. The dark cloud in the sky seemed to be under the control of some invisible power, unable to break out of the deceased god's cemetery. It went back to where it had come from. What is the secret hidden in the deceased god's cemetery? Zhang Yuochen's robe was completely soaked with sweat. He panted for breath and was unable to calm his heart. Since it was a medieval relic, what exactly happened here during the Middle Ancient times? Zhang Yuochen had all these unanswered questions in his mind. He really wished he could enter to find the answers to these questions. However, he also knew that with his current level of cultivation, entering it at this time was tantamount to committing suicide. Saint Lady stood on the mountain peak and looked toward the patch of dark clouds on the horizon. Although she knew many secrets regarding the deceased god cemetery, venturing into it had opened her eyes to even more shocking things. Even with her high level of cultivation, she did not dare to trespass into such a forbidden area. Once back in the Yin and Yang sect, Zhang Yuochen quickly separated himself from Saint Lady. Zhang Yuochen did not go to the sword pavilion but went straight to Xixia Sacred Mountain instead. With the sword technique conference quickly approaching, he had to rely on the scroll world to rise to the next level of the Tower of the Sword Realm within the shortest time. The moment he arrived at the foot of Xixia Sacred Mountain, he met a white-robed female outer disciple. The female outer disciple was standing on top of the flight of stone stairs. She had a fantastic figure with a slender waist. Her charming eyes were on Zhang Yuochen the whole time as she demurely said, "Elder brother Lin Yue, I have been waiting for you in Xixia Sacred Mountain for 3 days. Where have you been?" Once Zhang Yuochen recognized her, he did not know whether to laugh or cry. "Senior sister apprentice Yuan Mu, when did you become an outer disciple of the Yin and Yang sect?" This white-robed outer disciple was none other than Mu Lingxi. "It is not difficult for me to become an outer disciple of the Yin and Yang sect." Mu Lingxi gently touched her chin and smiled as she said, "I rushed to the Yin and Yang sect the moment I received your letter." "Did Chifu, the vixen, try to seduce you?"